though it is not in the scripture, but it's very, very interesting. I want you to understand why the Philistines were, thrashing the Israelites all the time. One, they had developed iron technology. The Israelites were still struggling in the development of iron technology. Are we together? There was no single man in Israel who had a sword, let alone a spear. So it means that this army of Israel, they were grossly, and they did not have a lot of, weapons in their armory. Are we together? And the Philistines, they had a very good strategy in ensuring that they had an edge. They ensured that they were the only ones who had iron technology. They ensured that they were the only ones who could sharpen, who could make weapons. So it created a shortage in the entire Israel. Are we together? So that's why from the book of Judges all the way to 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, you can see that the Philistines, they were heavy-handed towards the Israelites. And whenever they were doing the research, whenever they saw a blacksmith somewhere practicing, making weapons, iron weapons, making tools, they ensured that there was no blacksmith. They ensured that if they wanted anything, they would go all the way to the land of Philistines to get it. Do you understand? That's why you can see here the Philistines, they had, they really dominated the Israelites for a very long time. And when I am talking about hundreds of years, from the time of Samson, the Philistines were strong. From the time of Saul, the Philistines were still strong. In fact, it was the Philistines who ended up killing Saul. During the time of David, the Philistines were also very strong. And I've given you a very good reason, because they had iron mines. They extracted iron ore, and they had a lot of blacksmith. You know the meaning of a blacksmith. So for every day, you can imagine, the Philistines were making weapons while the Israelites were not making any weapon. So strategically, the Philistines were gaining an edge over the Israelites. Are we together? That's why you can see, and I know most people don't know that. And I'm a very good, I do a lot of historical research. You see, that is why you can see for many years, the Philistines crushed the Israelites. Even during the time of Samuel, the Philistines were disturbing Israel. And I've already given you the reason why they had an edge when it came to iron technology. Do you understand? Even in Africa, the kingdoms that had iron technology before others were the kingdoms that were expanding. If you do your research, go and do your research about Africa. I used to love history, and I was a very good history student. If you look at the kingdom of the Shona kingdom, you look at the Baganda kingdom, if you remember in your school times, the kingdoms that had iron, the kingdoms that had developed, that kind of technology in that sector, were the ones that were expanding their territory. They were using the weapons to expand. Are we together? That is why I'm telling you, this is the reason why during the times of Samson, during the times of David, during the times of Saul, you can see here, even after this, the Philistines, when the Israelites were inactive, the Philistines day and night. So you can see, even if they were worshipping their god Rimmon, their god was called Dagon. They had Dagon, and they had another one called Rimmon, and also another one called Asherah. So when they killed Saul, they cut his head and went and put that head of Saul in the temple of Dagon. Are we together? So it means that, even if Israelites were the chosen nation of God, but because they lacked weapons, are we together? Because they lack human resource, because they lacked blacksmiths, because they had no way of sharpening their weapons, they could not defeat the Philistines. And that is why the Philistines always thrashed the Israelites for many years. Let us continue reading from there. In the course of time, war broke out with the Philistines. You see here the Philistines, and I'm sure if we continue reading, you will realize that the Philistines were the ones who were provoking Israelites. Do you understand? Let us read. At that time, Sibbecai the Hushathite killed Sippai, one of the descendants of the Raphites, and the Philistines were subjugated. So here, for the first time, the Philistines were subjugated. In another battle with the Philistines, Elhanan, the son of Jair, killed Lami, the brother of Goliath, and Gittite. You see, Lami was the brother of Goliath. So you see here in another battle, that man was killed, the giant. But Goliath had also other brothers. Goliath had a brother called Lami. He had a brother called Seth. He had another brother called, let me remember, there were 5. And another one called Ishbi-Benob. Those were the brothers of Goliath. Let's continue. He also descended from Rapha when he taunted Israel. Jonathan, the son of Shimeah, David's brother, killed him. These were the descendants of Rapha in Gath, and they fell in the hands of David and his men. So let us continue. And if you read, about this other brother of Goliath called Ishbi-Benob, Ishbi-Benob also had a bone to settle. He was also contending against David for murdering his brother. And this giant called Ishbi-Benob went to battle, and he carried with him a new sword. That new sword was a sword against David. So you see here, when somebody came to the rescue of David, Ishbi-Benob had waited until David was tired, and then he attacked David. Are we together? He waited until David was tired, and then he attacked him. He was just waiting for the opportune moment to attack David. But you see, there was somebody who was there and rescued David. In fact, the second giant, and I want you to take note, the first giant David faced was called Goliath, and he killed Goliath. But the second giant was called Ishbi-Benob. In fact, David was too tired to fight. He had to be helped, because Ishbi-Benob came with a vengeance. He never came like Goliath. Goliath was boastful. I want you to go back and read the scripture. Goliath was boastful when he came. Number one, Goliath was boastful. So when David defeated him, it was a story. But here, this man called Ishbi-Benob came with vengeance to revenge for the death of Goliath. So he was not the same as Goliath. He had other things that were fueling him. Are we together? He was a bitter and very angry, and he had a point to prove. So I want you to understand the different battles of Goliath, of David and Goliath and the giants. Let's continue. So Satan rose up against Israel and incited David to take up a census of Israel. So David said to Joab and the commanders of the troops, "Go and count the Israelites from Beersheba to Dan. Then report back to me so that I may know how many they are." If you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment. I will be more than happy to be here.